How many hours per day are you working now?
So that's the problem. I'm working, and I know you can relate to this.
I showed you my calendar. Yeah,
you did. Oh my Lord. I thought mine was bad. I left that going, good Lord. Impressive.
Hey there, I'm John Sarakis, and this is The Climb, brought to you by the Digital Mastermind. And speaking of the Digital Mastermind, if you want a tribe of agency owners, technologists, marketers, business owners that give every tip, trick, and secret they have through the power of collaboration, then you should join the Digital Mastermind. Go ahead and shoot me an email, Jon, Jon, @digitalmastermind.com, or visit us at digitalmastermind.com. And just give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. And today we have a fantastic episode. We speak about something that everybody participates in, and that is online reviews, reputation management. We had the honor of speaking with Chelsea Craig from Rhino Reviews. And before we get into all that, Dave, why don't you come out here and let's give a little brief intro about reputation management, why this episode is so important.
Yeah, I mean, people shop based on what's posted online. You've got to be, just look at Yelp, look at all the other, listing services. And for B2B, it's the same thing. And so we do it. We're successful on Clutch. We've been awarded by Clutch, and a lot of people use Clutch, and we get leads from Clutch. So it's Clutch.
What I find interesting about online reviews is a lot of business owners use them for their purchase decisions, but they think they're the exception when it comes to getting reviews for their business.
100%. Isn't that a weird phenomenon that just happens in everyday life? I mean, people have such high standards for when they go to purchase something, but then their effort and their stuff that they produce doesn't have to meet that same standard. I find that we encounter that all the time.
Yeah, I think it's a human trait. Unfortunately, we call it hypocrisy. And when it comes to, and I know a lot of like older school businesses, they do like, oh, nobody looks at those. It's because they like Carl, and Carl's a nice guy, and he's got a very firm, warm, not sweaty handshake. And there are so many signals that are involved in a purchase decision that who knows, right? You have to have design, right? You have a website that has to be designed a specific way that meets requirements. Everybody has to say certain things. All these things have to line up, but people are inherently lazy. So online reviews are making that more front and center. And people are even noticing like the fake ones, especially when it comes to like Amazon or Google, where you can really hijack them. That's why we love Clutch so much, because you're being interviewed by somebody. So you really can't fake it.
So we recently had a client that, did the whole, their website's old. They don't get business through their website. I don't know what happened with that lead, but we encounter that all the time. And I just go like, don't you want your website working for you? Do you want to have to hustle in person for every sale you get? I mean, if your website's not working for you, why have one?
People think they're the exception. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And
so I think we determined that this lead, if we could sell one client, that it would pay for all the money that we were going to charge them for a year. Just one client pays for everything. And
speaking of that, I spoke with, this was 4 or 5 months ago. This is a company that does multi-million-dollar contracts in the building space for governments, for big commercial properties. And when I mean multi-million dollars, like some of their projects are like $100, $250 million projects. And they have just a terrible website. And they said like, yeah, we'd like a website for $500, $600 tops. I said, well, how much are these contracts that you have? And she just said the numbers that I said. And I said, well, don't you think it's worth maybe spending a little bit more money to invest in the people that are making that buying decision? No, our website's not important. I said, well, why do you have a website then?
Right.
He said, well, because I want one. I just, okay, there's nothing I can do here.
You go to Wix.com.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are we on but they don't want to go to Wix.com. So it was just all right. I literally emailed her a list, and I was like, all right, cool. I wish you luck. But in the world of entitlement and that person deserves to lose to the other person that's just going to do a little bit more effort. And I love the people that are about effort.
Right. And then tying it back to Clutch, that's, or just reviews in general. When you go above and beyond, you get great reviews. I love reading our reviews. Our account managers push our clients to give us reviews. We have a lot of happy clients. We do a lot of good work, and our team is great. So we get a lot of happy clients, and I love reading our success stories. And I love that it comes from the words of our clients.
Taking it completely back to this interview, I agree with all those points. She gave us G2 crowd and some other pointers that people should heed. What I've been looking at, though, are all of the different ones that have cropped up. Did a little investigation, and it's insane. Where, if you remember, it was like 20 years ago, directories were a big part of SEO and just the internet in general. And it's like full swing. Like that's completely coming back. And it's just now the directories just have much more juice and value to them compared to the just really stagnant, shitty ones. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of these just terrible directories where you're clicking through images that were GIFs and just really bad hyperlinks.
I mean, I used to own a directory called Vital Podcasts. So right when the whole podcast thing came out, this was like, we're talking about 2005. I was like on the forefront of trying to list and be the directory. This was way before Apple had included them in their the iTunes store. This is before Google had a listing of it. And I pretty much gave it up because those big players just come in and made them all worthless. So that was about the time when SEO for all these directories, basically, all these directories kind of fell off on the wayside. And then Craigslist hung around long enough. And then Angie's List was basically a copy of that idea. And then they pretty much, turned all these directory sites back into successful things again.
Yeah, that's a great point. That was kind of like the apex of it, and then it kind of V'd out again. It was Craigslist, which everybody, all right, yeah, I can get all my things on there, and then Airbnb was a spawn of people renting rooms, and Angie's List was like the services sector. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and then Angie's List, you got to get your Angie's List badge, and then you got to get rated and reviews on Angie's List. So Angie's List just kind of turned into its own thing, and then and branched out from there. And so now, so the thing that for me personally that I've just not participated is that it's all pretty much anonymous. I know Google tried to stamp that out and make it harder to get reviews, but I always just didn't care about it. And that's why I love Clutch so much, because of that review. And I guess you could go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about what that review process that we go through is with them.
Yeah, it's an interview. So over the threshold of $5,000, we give the information over to one of our clients, and they're interviewed by a Clutch representative. And at that point, they add everything to the profile, and then they, of course, submit it.
I love that, because you can't fake it. And then if Clutch did a disservice and allowed that to be gamed, then it would be worthless, not worthless.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with a lot of online reviews. It's the game of it, and people know that they can scam it out to a certain point. So,
how good does it feel when we get a lead from somebody finding us on these lists?
That's what they are. These are all qualifiers. This is somebody looking to, like, okay, these are trusted sources that they're going to go to make a buying decision. And yeah, and whether it's Clutch, G2, there's Design Rush. We knew somebody over there that was one of the co-owners. There's Lead Services, I think it's called. Quite a few others. I think the main thing is finding one of those platforms. And this is, I think we even talk about it on this episode, as well as I talk about it on others, where just find one, focus on that one, and build that out, and that should be your home base. Granted, you just hope you choose the best one, and you don't want to get left behind. And as you see another one creep up, you can then, of course, go and focus in that direction.
The best one for your industry, because You want to vet them based on B2B. Are they focused on B2C? Are they focused on products? Are they focused on service? The thing like we talk with the interview is she talks about G2, and G2 to me, when I look at that, it looks more product based. That doesn't feel like where we were supposed to live. And Clutch definitely feels service based companies and B2B. So I feel like we belong on Clutch. I don't think we belong so much on G2. I know the G2 has the service-based industry, but it's not their primary focus.
Yep. And the study that I was doing, and maybe they'll still turn into a blog post or a publish, but anybody else that's got a little bit of SEO salt in their system can do it. Go to SEMrush, Ahrefs, put in the URL for whatever one of these platforms is. You want to see essentially what their rankings are for your markets, right? So if you're specifically US based, you want to see how much traffic they're driving for that. And then based on the search terms that would relate to your business, you would then look at those search terms and see how much traffic they're driving for those, because that, of course, would then lead to you. I don't recommend doing the spray and pray method, though. This isn't building this isn't trying to annoy your clients with every single one of them. So yeah, kind of coming full circle, just stick to one platform and make sure, as Dave was saying, it's a service area that you focus in specific to that directory.
Right. And for example, if you own a trendy donut shop, you're not going to want to be listed on Clutch. You're going to be, you're going to want to focus on Yelp. It's B2B. People aren't searching for trendy donuts on Clutch.
No, Yelp. What's that other one? What's the other one? It's more, so Yelp isn't used anywhere else really except the United States. So when you travel to other countries, you're like, oh, well,
TripAdvisor?
Give a damn. TripAdvisor. That's the other one. Yeah, that one is more accepted around the world than Yelp is. Yelp seems like it's more of a United States focus.
Interesting. Did not know that.
Yeah. So yeah, as you're beginning to plan your little locations, and Google, of course, Google's got a pretty good footprint, but some of these other countries have their own, which of course, if it's translated, then it makes a viable source.
Right.
Right on. We got anything else to say before we jump into this wonderful episode?
Other than what's our total number of reviews up to?
54.
54. And when did we start collecting them?
It was pre-merger. So we had, I started at pre-merger. Yeah.
All right.
But dropped the hammer on it after that. It was one of the points of focus. Yeah. But all right. So if we were to say when we started in we would say 2 years. We started focusing on it pretty heavily 2 years. I think we had 6 or 7 before then. So together we've acquired 40 something.
Yeah. Excellent.
45. Yeah. And they're growing. I spoke with an agency the other day that has 250 employees, and they spit out, I don't know how many projects. They've been in business literally as long as we have, and they only had 40 something.
Yeah.
So yeah. And here's another thing: don't send it to somebody that's going to trash you.
Right.
Because they're going to publish that. They're not like, oh hey, So if it's the same thing, if you're going to send a review request to an unhappy person, then you deserve a bad review online, because they're going to give you a bad review online. There's no reason to put gas on that fire.
Now, ultimately, these review companies, like we did win an award from Clutch, and it's on your award shelf and here in the office here. And
I don't know, we can't see that. All right.
No, we have to take it.
There we go. Right there.
Boom. So ultimately, that's fun and that's great for marketing. It's always fun to be able to put out there that you won an award, but they're really just collecting all this information and selling it to mailing lists, right? I mean, ultimately, that's the end goal of these directories.
And advertising, right? Yeah. So like Angie's List or Home Advisor, this model has been beaten to death. Yep. They get they'll sell leads. That's one. So and theirs is a bidding game. I think some of the other platforms do that. And then they sell it to like the top 4. So based on one lead, let's say everybody bids around $1,000. That's $4,000 per lead. And then they also offer advertising to that you can advertise all over the platform. I think there's like eight different places you can advertise, and it could be up to upwards of like $25,000-$30,000 depending on your market. Markets are sold differently, and as low as a few hundred. So it's definitely profitable because they don't have a ton of employees. Low cost, lots of revenue. That's a model we all want. And
Chelsea's firm, Rhino Reviews, I mean, they basically help other firms manage and put together a process of reviews. I guess to tee up the interview, give us an overview of like what her agency does.
They're a reputation management company, so they not only help you facilitate, getting positive reviews, they create the structure and then they manage your reviews. So if you're an agency that is looking for a partner, they partner with agencies. If you're a company looking for somebody to manage your online profile from a reputation standpoint, then give Chelsea and her team a call. And here we go. On the climb, the digital mastermind. Let's get into it. All right. So I typically like to start with an explanation of your journey, your climb. So please tell us, how did you get here?
Yeah, and here being, I currently run a business called Rhino Reviews, working with clients and their online reputation. My journey is a little speckled. I actually am very kind of still new and green to the marketing world. I went to school for physical therapy. I was an athlete my whole life, played basketball through college, and that was kind of all I knew from an exposure standpoint. So it logically made sense. Oh, I play sports. I like sports. Let me do something in my afterlife in regards to sports. Unfortunately, I realized in my junior year that I didn't love physical therapy. So I'm now one of the, I think it's like 88% of people with a college degree they do nothing with. I'm not in PT. But I quickly grabbed an internship and then went to work at Frito-Lay in sales. Realized that wasn't right for me as well. Incredible company, but 3 years in was just not loving it. And didn't know what I wanted to do. Again, kind of at that crossroads. So I did what everyone thinks is, socially acceptable and resigned from that position to go get my MBA. While I was kind of exploring a little bit of time before going back to school, I allowed myself a couple months off in between resigning and when the semester would start. During that time, being a millennial, my entire network is entrepreneurs. And I was the strange one, drinking the corporate Kool-Aid, loving Frito, going to get my MBA. But I was filling time helping out a couple of my friends with their small businesses. And weirdly enough, in a 1 week time period, all three of them had issues with online reviews in a different way. I was simply kind of Googling around, trying to find something that would help them with this process moving forward, whether it be to get more reviews or to be aware when stuff like this happened, and found that there were companies out there, obviously, that had solutions. But it really just struck me that there was a misalignment between what these businesses were providing, the price point that they were at, who they were marketing to, different definitions of small business across the board. And I just thought there might be an opportunity there to try something different. Still didn't really know why I was getting my MBA. So it's a large price point to kind of stomach. I was self-funding as well as 2 years out of the job market. So I thought, I'm going to take a quarter of what I would invest in my MBA, take a shot on myself, see if it works. And if not, hopefully fall back and someone will still accept me. So I ended up deferring, starting Rhino Reviews, and thankfully 3 years later, we're here. I'm getting my life MBA, and we're chugging along.
That's awesome. That's a good explanation. So you're still going to get your MBA, or did you drop out?
I deferred for 1 year, and then after 1 year, Rhino fortunately started making money and doing successfully.
Good.
So
Keep deferring.
Not going back.
Yeah, no. There's a study. You can look this up. I think it's most businesses that have an owner with an MBA are recognized as substantially worse leaders than those that do not have an MBA. Oh
my goodness. I haven't heard that before. I can understand it. And I definitely, if anyone has an MBA, I definitely see and do think there is a huge value.
Management here.
Yeah, I would always making sure we're politically correct here. I can't let it go. I do think there's an extreme value. For example, like if you're pursuing corporate, there are certain industries as well as just a networking perspective that really comes from it. But I'm with you on that. I think you learn so much more, or at least I've learned so much more in 3 years in this business that I know I would have gotten from the program.
Yeah, and I know tons of people that have them. I pick on them. There was a great ad from, I believe it was FedEx, where this lady there's a new hire that's on there, and she said, "Hey, can you go ahead and order that online?" And he's like, "I have an MBA." She's like, "Oh, in that case, let me show you."
That's awesome.
And I always love that ad, and I like to pick on people that have them. I think a lot of people will do exactly what you did though, and they're like, I don't know what I want to do. I'll get my MBA. I'll just get some more education, and then it'll kind of like piece together. But I think it's fantastic that the gods pushed you in a completely different direction, and you are a business owner. And how many years are you in now?
3 years.
Okay, that's awesome. What happened at Frito-Lay though?
Yeah, truly, I have nothing bad to say. It was an incredible company. One thing that I didn't realize and really took for granted when I was working for them, that was a culture shock, I guess, to say when I started my own business, was they're Frito-Lay. They're owned by PepsiCo. They're a name brand in every house. Their systems, their processes, the training, the technology, the tools that they have access to. I didn't realize that wasn't the norm because that was all I knew. So when I left and then said, oh, I'm going to start my business, and wanted, I was used to having these insights and all these analytics that aren't available, or if they are available, are an exorbitant amount of money. That was a little shocking. It was also interesting to go from having these processes and systems laid out. I'm an athlete at my core. Like I'm an executor. You give me a to-do list, you give me a process, and like, I get excited. That makes me happy. I was very good at following someone else's plan, following someone else's playbook, but stepping out of corporate, when you start your own business, it's up to you to create that and create those strategies, to create the playbook. So that was also another kind of culture shock. But to answer your original question, I guess, nothing bad went on. I just, being completely honest, it was my own fault. They did not task me. I didn't have my hours set. I was able to set my own hours, and I willingly chose to work 15 to 20 hour days because I wanted to win and my team was doing well and it was great, but it wasn't sustainable. It started to cause problems in other areas of my life that were challenged, and I didn't like that. And I knew it was going to be up to me to kind of pull back. Also, just in career conversations, having the next 5 to 10 years painted out. Again, great opportunities, but it just wasn't exciting me in the way that I really wanted to, I don't know, kind of move forward. So I just said, hey, I've got to get out of here.
How many hours per day are you working now?
So that's the problem. I'm working, and I know you can relate to this.
I showed you my calendar. Yeah.
You did. Oh my Lord. I thought mine was bad. I left that going, good Lord, impressive. I'm working, I would say, the days are the same. It's, a 12-hour day is a great quick day. So I'll leave it at that. And definitely, I'm working weekends, but it's so different when it's something that you're building and creating. And I know you can relate to that. It's just a different feel. You're excited. It's challenging, it's stimulating, it's all I'm not complaining about it. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And then how big is your team?
So I have 4 contracted employees. I'm myself, I'm the only full-time, but if I'm working 120 hours a week, I'm kind of 3 employees. So it's however you want to look at it.
That's very true. So, when you deal with your clients, right, when it's in a reputation management side, how often do you see them not having any time for it? Like no consideration? Like what does that world look like?
How do I get them to give me a minute of their time? Is that what you mean? Or
just to understand the value of the reputation management and that it deserves time.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So it is an interesting one. Obviously, when I first start with clients, it's typically because they've had a bad interaction with it. So it's a fire. And to them, it's everything in that moment. So it's guns blazing. What we find is normally after 4 or 5 months, we've got our process in play. Things are smooth moving. It starts to taper back because they haven't had a bad situation recently. Knock on wood, we're doing our job and making sure things are great. But it's reminding them that if they're not prioritizing this, it's not something that you can switch overnight and get back, fix overnight. It's not a quick fix. It's a long, slow process. It's similar to SEO in that tactic. Like it takes time to build up. So just kind of reminding them of how things happen. I'm a big fan of reporting, but always kind of looking back in a, month, quarter, year, so that you really can remember, hey, the time that it took to get here, you're just drawing that back up, visualizing that. And yeah, just reminding them of things that went on, but also just the continued importance that it has. We've been fortunate I shouldn't say fortunate. This past year has really highlighted how important your online presence is. So for businesses, there's a ton of crazy statistics out there from a ratings, from a ranking, from an SEO perspective, from customer influence, employee influence.
What are the juiciest ones? Like, lay those on us. Those are great.
The juiciest ones. So the most kind of in demand one recently that caught me off guard really has been employee reviews. As the job market's changed and we're all virtual now, hiring has become incredibly competitive. People are able to go anywhere. You can pull anywhere. And a lot of businesses previously weren't focusing on Glassdoor, weren't focusing on Indeed. And they show the average candidate actually reads over 7 reviews from a business before deciding to move forward with an interview perspective. So if your business doesn't even have 7 reviews, you're getting lost in it. And they also really focus a lot on women and the difference on how women shop for a new job versus how men. And we are very research focused. We are very online focused. We're wanting to take in all this information, all this content before making a decision, and reviews and testimonials from employees really factor in. Women are a very hot movement right now in the job market. It's a focus for a lot of companies. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Those are fantastic. Yeah, we just did a mastermind call just yesterday where we were talking about recruiting. So that's perfect information to move that forward. Now, as far as like agencies offering reputation management, how can an agency better sell that or make money off of that as a service?
Yeah. So kind of two, I'm gonna split that up. How can they better sell that? So one thing, obviously, as a marketing agency, you're tasked with getting leads. And one of the areas that a lot of our agencies that we partner with, I'm always asking them, how are you pitching this to your clients? What is kind of the buzz that you're noticing clients hone in on? And a lot of agencies struggle with they're tasked with getting leads, but the client doesn't want to necessarily only see the leads. They want the conversions, they want the sales. We're all in this to grow our businesses. An area that a lot of businesses fail to look at is where those customers are being taken when these agencies are driving leads. If someone's doing a Google search, if someone is looking further into your business and you've built all these quote unquote trust factors, from all these different social platforms, from all these great ads or outreach or, kind of nurturing those leads. But then when that final kind of research on your business and your services comes through, i.e. looking at reviews, if those don't match everything else you've branded, you've broken that trust with that lead. You've broken that trust with that potential customer. So it's a great way and an additional service to offer to kind of ensure you're doing that final step to make sure those leads are converting to sales. Another interesting tactic that one of my agencies use that I hadn't considered is he talks about the difficulty of managing expectations for clients, specifically when you are working with them to help them build up SEO and to help them with their web design development. Maybe you're doing a new website launch. All of those things, again, they're a long process. We're talking months here, not days, not weeks. And though when you're probably going over your client, the scope with your client, and you're walking them through that onboarding, yes, I'm sure you're telling them and outlining to them how long it will take. But when you're in month 2 and there's still, the website's still being developed, or you're still, doing everything you can to have those search results, have them appear higher in search, it can be hard for the client to still be engaged, to be positive about the experience. Client retention is every 2 years. They were probably already shopping for a new agency when you started with them. So it can be hard to manage those expectations. You want to ensure you're delivering on results. He uses reputation management at the beginning as a way to go in and implement, let's get some action going. We put the process in play. They start getting reviews. They start seeing traction there, and it's just results being driven for that client. So it helps give them a little bit of breathing room while they're working on kind of more back end items.
What would you say an agency, like a good retainer for them to like offer this as a service?
Yeah, so you need to look at the market, and there's all different service levels that you can provide as well. Are you an agency that you're just looking to provide maybe the software because your client has someone on their team that can manage it, or maybe are a little bit leaner in their budget? Most softwares typically range between $100 to $300 in pricing per month, and that's based off of location and a couple other factors, texting, the amount of campaigns, etc. What we found that the most effective, what we've seen with that though, is though that's a price, a little bit more price sensitive option, that actually, in my opinion, isn't the way to go, because we're all busy. We're all outsourcing everything. The agency doesn't have time to sit and properly manage that. They don't want to do that. It's not worth someone on their team's time. Unfortunately, the business doesn't have time to do that. I mean, we just spoke about businesses don't even have time to have a conversation about it, yet alone run a software, upload the customers to it, respond to the reviews, and really manage that after effect of when those reviews and that reputation is being posted. So the software is great, but the tools are only as good as the person using it. We really push for the managed piece, which again is our kind of unique advantage at Rhino. We not only provide you the tools, we're providing you someone on your team, fiercely protecting your reputation as if it was our own. And with that, it's the pricing is a little bit, again, it's varied. It's typically starting around 500 and upwards of there. Most of our agencies, from an exact price point, I mean, it's up to them and their relationship on how they want to resell that with their clients.
What what is the best practice for when negative reviews come in?
That's always everyone always wants to harp on the negative. First and foremost, we typically remind our clients to breathe, take a minute. There's always three sides. It's very fascinating, reading the reviews and the trolling reviews from customers, hearing the story from the business, and then having to kind of interpret it on our own end. What do we advise? So how we handle it is we immediately, less than 3 stars, we're always notifying our client immediately on this. We typically draft a review response for them to approve. And then you're posting it. The most important thing you can do is respond as quickly as possible. Google has a lot of studies done. They've shown that if you respond to a negative review within 24 hours, there's actually a 67% chance that review will either be updated to a more positive rating or removed altogether. And really it's because, yes, there are trolls out there. Yes, there are people that are just grumpy for no reason, but the majority of the reviews that are posted are because someone's just at their final attempt to get a hold of the company to try and speak to them. And we've taught customers that these reviews are monitored and they matter. So maybe they've been emailing customer service and they're not getting back to you, or they've been calling and they haven't heard back, and they turn to this review platform as just another channel. It's communication nowadays. Social media is a way to reach a brand. So by responding right away, hopefully you're able to re-engage, rekindle. If you can win back that upset customer, they're a brand champion for life. But respond.
You hit on something there, the communication. So speaking with a friend yesterday, owns a very successful commercial and residential painting company. And a person said, hey, there's some spots on the paint, or on the wall or whatever, you can come over and fix this. That would be great. So the guy has somebody go out there and fix it. And they're absolutely satisfied. They go on and then leave him a 1-star review and then say, yeah, these guys are good, but you have to babysit them. And it's like, why? It's just like, what? And I think some people are just using that as this is their social media. This is their communication. That was their post of the day. And
It's, first of all, that breaks my heart because your business, your friend who owns that company did above and, exactly what we would have recommended. Go out there, do it, own it, apologize. And I thought you, and was hoping you were going to say they posted that and then updated it. I am sorry. That's one of those situations that if that happened to one of our clients, we would struggle drafting that review response because it's hard not to say what I'm sure everyone's thinking, but you can't say that online. You have to be professional as the business. You're never right. But you personally, I mean, everything that you just mentioned about social media, it's blurred the lines on a lot of these platforms. And everyone wants a platform. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to feel important for the moment. And these reviews can be viewed as like, oh, I have power because I know they matter to the company. But what people don't realize is, yes, they do. They matter to these companies. And you potentially could be really hurting a small business by doing this.
So with that, what was, before you owned a business that did reviews, what were your reviews like?
So it's interesting. My mom was very big on, above and beyond thanking customer service people, because they always come back to help you out. Like, be really nice to the people at the airlines because they'll do something at a hotel when you're checking in. They'll maybe give you an upgraded room if you're super nice. So she was always big on, teaching us that. Before I did this, what I always used to do is ask them if I had an exceptional customer service experience. I would say, hey, what's the best way to thank you? For example, in the airline industry, a review for American Airlines isn't helpful, but for them, a shout out on Twitter is like the end of the world in a good way. So, understanding, hey, what's important for that business? How can it really help them out? And putting it on that platform. I did not, being honest, I was not the best representative of putting positive reviews out there for businesses, and I'm still not. You forget, it's hard, we're busy. I'll have these great experiences and I don't remember to put them online for all those reasons that we talked to our clients. Send a reminder. People still don't think to just go leave a good review unless it's a bad experience. I will say I've had bad experiences and I will email the company. I won't post it online because I just feel bad. But I will follow up with emails.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It takes a lot for me to leave a negative review. And as far as a positive review, I try to give them, I go through waves where I'm just like, I'm giving positive reviews, and you kind of like fall and forget about it. What I find interesting though is some companies, you have a complaint, you can't get a hold of them, and then they send you the review request, and I'll usually take that in the email. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, things aren't going well between us right now. Like, we need to get this cured.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
How about you, Dave? What does it take for you to leave a negative review?
Well, I was just thinking the only time I've really done it is actually I have two stories. One, I was in Puerto Rico and had a bottle of wine, and when we tried to open it, it shattered, right? So I snapped a picture and posted it on Twitter, and I'm like, I forget, I think it might have been Joel Gott, and I'm like, what the hell, Joel Gott? And they reached out to me and wanted to send me free wine. I'm like, don't worry about it. It happens all the time. And then the last time I left a negative review was when I was boat shopping, and the marina I felt like they were kind of screwing me over, and they ended up pushing a marine inspector on me that didn't even test the like basic safety equipment, and I gave him a 3 out of 5 stars on Google, and the manager called me immediately and he's like, what's up with this review? And the review wasn't scathing. It was just, I was a little disappointed. It wasn't ideal. And he's like, how can we make this better? He's like, can we do anything? And I'm like, no, you already lost my trust. How am I going to trust you again? And so I was just like, and then I went back to the review and did type up, update. Manager did call me, tried to make it better. But I'm not changing my rating.
You kept it at 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
3's average.
Yeah, I didn't kill him. So I think it's in running a business and understanding the power of these reviews. If I was running a company that was not B2C, I wouldn't be on social media at all. I would completely remove myself. I feel like if you're only B2C, would you want to be all over that stuff?
So that's so interesting. We're actually, and when I started the business, thought all B2C. I thought restaurants, retail, professional services like healthcare, et cetera. But we're actually 60% B2B versus B2C clients.
So I love Clutch. I don't know if John's told you about it. I love Clutch because there's a human interpreter in the middle of that. So it's not just some random person going, "Oh, this company sucks. They ripped me off." Like that's what I hate about the Google and like just the generic. I mean, you don't get to, and I've seen, the memes of Karens posting and then the management trying to make it better, and they still don't care. And they're not, so you're wasting a ton of effort trying to make unhappy people happy.
Puppy kickers, 3% of the population, no matter what you're going to do, are going to be unhappy. But what would you say are the differences between the B2B versus the B2B side? Are there any in that review process?
So as Dave just mentioned, the platforms are the biggest change on what they're focused on, where they're focused. B2C is, hyper local most of the time. So Google is that really strong platform. B2B, they're looking at Clutch, their G2, UpCity, and kind of driving there. The outreach process is slightly different as well. So for example, to leave a Clutch review takes a lot more time, is a lot more intensive than just a straight Google review or Facebook. You're having to log in and verify yourself with the LinkedIn. It's a 10, 15-minute process if you're doing it online, or it's an actual scheduled phone interview. So the outreach process has to be a lot more, for us at least, we go through it, we provide a much more personalized outreach process versus a Google review. You can go in automated software. It can be known that it's an automated system. When we're asking for Clutch, we want the email to actually be from a real person, nothing automated, nothing scripted or canned. The other thing is we talked managing expectations, but with that intensive process, the review return rate is typically a lot lower. So, having the businesses understand that from the beginning and understand that, having 5 reviews on Clutch is not the same as having 5 reviews on Google. One Clutch review is worth a lot more because the intensity that it takes to put it up, people look at it a lot. It weighs a lot more.
We got 52 of them.
Yeah.
Would you say, what are some others? Because most of our audience is agency owners. What are some others? You mentioned UpCity, Clutch. So Clutch being the best, and then ranking them and naming some others possibly?
So Clutch is, so for an agency perspective, we typically say G2 and Clutch are number 1 and number 2. I used to say Clutch is number 1. I would say in the past couple months, I've shifted and prioritized G2, which might sound interesting because G2 was formerly like a Capterra, really soft, like a services focused, like software focused. They are really making the move to be, a services based platform as well. The unique advantage, now they're all a little bit different. They're all doing it differently. Clutch is an incredible platform. They also allow you to be then, the only way to be on their sister website, The Manifest, is if you're on Clutch. So again, it's just another platform that you're dominating on. It has the great, verification factor of you having to log in LinkedIn. So I can trust that what I'm reading is from an actual person who's the actual CMO or VP, an actual candidate here. G2 has that same kind of trust process where you're having to either log in through LinkedIn or a work domain email. The review itself is a lot less involved as Clutch. Still, 5 to 7 questions, rate 1 to 10. What are the pros? What are the cons, et cetera. But where G2 is kind of taking it by storm is they are going anti-sponsorship. And what I mean by that is for Clutch, you can literally say, I want to be the number 1 position for SEO services in Philadelphia. What's the price on that? And it doesn't matter, if I have 1 review or 52, such as yourself. And I think people were always reading these reviews to try and get the true what's actually out there. When I type it in and I'm searching, I want the best one to pop up, not because someone's paying, a couple thousand. It's because they're the best one. G2 is sticking with that. Though they're pay to play, you can pay for other advantages. They do not allow you, they don't sell spots. It's truly just the ranking based off of the reviews and the reputation that you've earned on their platform. You can unlock different features within your profile. For example, you can unlock through sponsorship the ability to respond to the reviews, show different things, but the actual ranking and the results that the customers are judging you by are not improved from payment. So we're seeing a shift in kind of how important that platform is becoming for more of the services industry where it wasn't as dominating before.
I find that super interesting because when you go on Clutch, you will see there's like all of these people, and then you speak with their advertising department, like, oh yeah, so if you want that, it's going to be like $14,000. If you want that, that's like $8,000. So you have to sift through all of these people that are paying, and then you get to the people that are really there based on the number of reviews. Which, okay, that's how they're set up, and I think it creates the opportunity, as you mentioned, for G2. So with G2, would you recommend for us, if the 52 people that we asked to leave a review, should we ask them to leave another positive review?
Absolutely. And what we typically recommend when you are doing that outreach is script that email up. And we do it for our clients. We send them to multiple platforms. If someone left you, especially specifically like for you, you have these 52 reviews. They were probably written, 6 months, a year ago to, as you're evolving. Mm-hmm. It's a great opportunity to kind of re-engage with that client, reach out to them, send a personalized email. We would script it up, thanking them for that great feedback. Again, so happy that you had the opportunity to work with them or are still working with them, how much that review meant to you, what it does for your business, et cetera. And if they have a moment, would they mind helping you again with the G2 one?
Should we incentivize them? Here we go.
That's a phenomenal question. So G2, so that's an interesting part of the platform, because it is and was set up kind of like Capterra. When you first create your profile with them, they allow you they'll send out a campaign on your behalf. And in that campaign, they'll incentivize you saying, hey, if you leave this review, you'll get $10. I think that's valuable for a certain type of business. For someone such as yourself, I don't think that's a good move to go with. The clients that you are probably sending this to are not, first of all, $10 isn't going to move the needle for them. And it can actually kind of rub the wrong way. The other thing that I don't like about that is, again, it's this automated email process. It's not personal from you. It's coming from the account manager at Clutch saying, hey, Jon gave me your information. He knows that you're an important client and hopes you'll help out. If I'm so important, why didn't he send me the email himself?
Right.
Well, little brag. We are number 3 on Clutch in all of the state of Florida. So I just looked that up and I was like, all right, pretty good.
I mean, 52 reviews is pretty solid.
Nowhere to be found on G2. So we obviously don't use that.
Yeah, we got some work to do there.
An opportunity. But yeah, long story short, the pay to play or the incentivization, I think you have to look at the audience that you're speaking to and how that's going to be viewed. When it's a service based, I think it can sometimes, I wouldn't recommend it, just being candid. No, I don't think it would work with your clients, and I think it can come across the wrong way.
Got it. No, I appreciate that. And then as far as the others, like there's all of these others that are vying for organic space and they're competing. You mentioned Up City, and they give awards, it seems like, for almost anything. Yeah, can you speak to some of those and if there's any value?
Yeah, so and I'm sure 5 more were created during our conversation. There's over 125 last I checked, different platforms. Yeah, and I'm sure there's more. But as you've said, they ebb and they flow. They shift in popularity. Obviously, like, a Bing you can't leave reviews on. A Yellow Pages review. Yellow Pages exist online, and you can actually leave reviews on there, which is crazy. Is not valuable. It's not worth it. What we typically tell clients is choose 3. Choose 3 that for you are very important. It's also, when we're doing these evaluations, where are your leads coming from? And if you don't know the answer to that, okay, then who are your competitors and where are they doubled down? Because if they're doubled down there's probably a reason. And if you're not represented, we need to build up that profile on that platform. Focusing on more than 3, first of all, you're just going to dilute your efforts. When it comes to it, but also like when you're talking about asking clients for multiple reviews are a numbers game. So you can't consistently be going back and say, hey, leave us 15 reviews across the board. So focusing on 3 just kind of, I don't know, it's a good number. We've also found that if you are sending your customers links to leave you reviews, 3 is that drop-off point where if you include more than 3 links for them to have the option to go to, we actually noticed a negative effect, and the review return rate dropped lower. Same thing as if you only included 1 link. And this is where if you're using kind of an automated system and allowing the customers to choose. But we also saw if you only include 1 option, there's a drop off. People are only being forced into going somewhere. But 2 to 3 seems to be that kind of sweet spot. While we don't say, grow those reviews on 15 platforms, if there's a platform that's relevant or, you're able to claim or build a listing on, we do recommend go out, claim it. Don't, spend time investing on developing it, but upload your profile picture, make sure your website information is correct. And one of the reasons for that, besides just getting, the additional juice that comes from it, is a lot of those platforms, they're trying to become the next Clutch. They're trying to become the next G2. They're trying to become the next Yelp. So what they're doing is they're just pulling public information and just scrubbing. And you might already have a profile created for you, and that information might be wrong. So you want to go out there and make sure also that anything you might think, hey, I'm not on that platform, I didn't build it. Doesn't matter. They could have a profile for you.
Right. They'll just state licensing information to populate
Exactly.
or call somebody else's site. Have you ever dealt with one of get involved in the Better Business Bureau reports or that scam report? I don't even know that's around. Like the guy was hosted in like Colombia and people like had death threats on him. Do you get involved in that level?
So we deal with the BBB. We work on any platform that's important for our clients with I don't touch Twitter. Twitter doesn't allow you to have reviews, but we do monitor their online reputation as well. So like we've dealt with viral videos on Reddit and stuff like that, but I do not work on Twitter. It is too volatile, it's too fast, and it's nothing I want to be involved. From a company perspective, you can go viral in a lot of ways. That's not a way I want to touch going viral. So I don't work on that one. But yeah, BBB is an interesting one because there's complaints and reviews. So, you're working within one platform in 2 different ways. So that's always an interesting one. But yeah, we've dealt with some fun situations.
Is there a story there with Twitter where it just went like, you're like, okay, we're not doing this again?
Crazy. Not with Twitter, but it did. So Reddit was where I kind of drew the line and said, hey, let's look at what platforms can go viral like this and really evaluate if it's going to be worth it for us or not. We had a client who they deliver restaurant equipment. They sell restaurant equipment, regardless. They have trucks on the road. And we were notified Friday evening because we have tracking, and we're notified Friday evening that they were trending on Reddit, which is never a notification you want to get. And what happened was an Uber driver had the dash cam and was driving, and this truck driver cut him off. Nothing bad. I'm sure I've done this before in my world too, but regardless, he put it on some, sub channel on Reddit talking about people being bad drivers. And this thing for some reason just took off. Within 2 hours, it had over 20,000 views, an insane amount of comments, people saying this guy needs to be fired, all of this just ridiculous stuff. But the problem is it was a company truck. They started then saying they needed to find the driver. People were giving information about, I've seen that truck at this store. We can go follow it. Here's this license plate. Just people going crazy. We reached out to the business, ended up creating a Reddit account so that we could respond as the business, responded, answered every single comment that was posted. We personally responded to, and were able to successfully actually reach out to the individual that posted the video, let him know the effect that this was having both on this driver and for the business. And we were able to get him on the phone. He agreed to take the video down. And thankfully by the next morning when we updated the business, we were able to say, hey, this happened, but it's already gone. From that though, we were like, okay, let's reevaluate where we're working. Cause
I hope they were super thankful.
They were. Yeah. They're a great client.
Yeah. The easiest thing would be like, yeah, his name is Carl. Here's his address, guys. Go and get him.
Exactly. Yes. But it's amazing sometimes when you get behind screens and when we're behind our phones, what people will say, how they react, what they do. We forget we're humans and everything that you're saying, it affects other people. It affects these businesses.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, and it's a lot of it can be that cancel culture. People just want that justice online. The new pitchforks and torches are someone's keyboard and their computer. Do you ever see things getting so bad you need to get legal involved to potentially get negative reviews pulled away because they have no substance?
Yeah, so we've unfortunately I have had to go down that route a couple times. Not because they didn't involve substance. We had a couple times where they've posted proprietary information or screenshotted contracts and put them up online, or trolled to a point of harassment and what they were saying, the slander, the language. Yeah, there's been some there, it's online. There's been everything's ugly, especially when you're talking about reputation and reviews. So unfortunately, there have been a couple situations where the company has lawyered up and had to, we've tried cease and desist, we tried different things. And ultimately, I mean, that typically stops it. You give them a call from a lawyer, you do something like that, but it's not a route that anyone wants to take.
No. Any tips to mitigate trolling?
So we're a big fan of don't shy away. I think a lot of businesses, they're scared of being trolled. They're scared of getting these negative reviews because it's all they know. So they don't ask for reviews because they're worried that they're only going to get bad ones, which is not the way to do that. You need to proactively build up the positive ones. So when a negative one's posted, it's the anomaly and not the norm. But what we really focus on doing is, look, customer feedback is great. It's an opportunity to improve your business. If this one person has an issue, probably 5 others do, and you could be losing customers without realizing it. So we're a big fan of it, working with our clients to really open up the channels of communication so that you can prevent someone from having to go to Facebook, from having to go to Google, over communicate, over solicit, their feedback, what they thought of the process. You mentioned that company that sent you the message, while you were still upset with them. Maybe not asking for the review is the right time, but during those, trigger points of the customer service and that customer experience, ask them for their feedback, check in on how things are going so that you're allowing them to communicate with you and not, having their only option to go online and troll you. That's kind of in the forefront. Unfortunately, if you've dropped the ball or someone's just upset for no reason and they're in the process of already trolling you, we work a lot, respond, call them, reach out to them. But call them, reach out to them. One thing that can be a rabbit hole, and I know you and I have actually talked about this personally before, on various platforms, you have the ability to hide or remove. Think twice before doing that. It can have a negative effect. They're trolling you because they want to be heard. You blocking or removing their comments sometimes only forces them to go to more platforms or really double down their efforts. So be cautious with just, hey, we're just going to delete them here. You might be opening up a bigger can of worms.
What do you do in the situation of a client approaches you and they have something that's either a subpar product or service and they want you to help with their reputation?
We have, unfortunately, I'm not looking to put a Band-Aid on a leaky bucket here. I want clients that are, if they have a bad reputation, there's a reason and we're improving it and moving forward. For example, we had one client where when we started working with them, they had 32 Google reviews and a 1.9 ranking. There's clearly something wrong with your processes that needs to be evaluated. So what we did with them was they were committed, though. They knew they had customer service issues. So we started campaigns, as I talk about, opening up those channels with your customers, asking them and getting that feedback, and then passing it to their team so that they could actually put some of these updates into play before we started working on them, from a public review standpoint. They actually just crossed over to a 4.2 ranking, have over 200 reviews. But it took a lot of work on their team. Dave mentioned that individual called him when he got the bad review. That's what we do with them now. The second anything bad's posted, the CEO of the company directly calls that customer to, figure out what they could do to fix it. The reason I bring that up is yes, we all hope that you can improve and have that, but that company was actually committed to making the improvements. If we're having these conversations with these clients and the businesses and we're getting the indication that they're just hoping will kind of like make something bad go away, but not actually deliver a better product or service, we're not going to be the right fit for you, unfortunately. And no one's going to be. Like, you have to improve the product, you have to improve the service, you have to actually deliver 5 stars to get 5 stars.
Have you pitched a business based on doing business with them and seeing their reviews and like, guys, like, I can help you here?
And being bad, I have. You mentioned car dealership. I had a pretty terrible experience at a car dealership that I actually went to when I had seen their poor reviews, thinking, okay, these reviews seem a little crazy. They've, let me just give them a shot. They were also local, quick and easy for me to get to. And I got there and the reviews were correct. But I was talking with the owner and said, have you looked on Google? Are you guys doing anything about that? There seems to be some opportunity here. But no, he did not care. His personality in person matched the reviews online. And my favorite is when people say, oh, well, those reviews clearly don't matter. I've been in business for 15 years. And it's like, do you want to be in business for another 15 years? Because they do. But you can't convince everyone. Yeah.
I agree. And those people are there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's nothing I can do that's going to help you change that.
Yes.
What do you see agencies doing wrong today with their reputations?
For their clients or for themselves?
For themselves, mainly, and for their clients, yeah.
For themselves, I think I'm always amazed with the amount of agencies that when we're speaking with them, before I talk to anyone, even if it's just a friendly conversation, I'm Googling. That's what, we're trained to do. And I'm always amazed with the agencies that, they know that this matters. They know it affects their customers. They talk about, how can they get more clients themselves? Because the turnover of a client, it's pretty fierce as an agency, but they aren't invested in gathering their own testimonials, building it up themselves. So I'm always a little intrigued there. There's a quote, and it's like, the shoemaker's man has no shoes. The person who does the work often forgets to do it for themselves. So I always think there's an opportunity there, especially as an agency. You're delivering these huge projects that are really changing your clients' lives and businesses, hopefully. So there's a great opportunity when you have those launches, that have those products complete, you've got them dialed in, ask for it right then and there, get that video testimonial, get that testimonial online somewhere. Because clients always want to see examples. Oh, have you worked with someone in our industry to help them do this? Easiest way to do it is to be able to provide them that review and that case study. Mistakes where I think there's opportunity for agencies from their client is that managed piece. A lot of agencies I talk with, oh yeah, we have a license with Bird Eye, or we have a license with Great Us. Okay, tell me, what does that look like? How is it helping your agency? How is it helping your clients, most importantly, get their results? Oh, we onboarded someone, but they're in charge of it. Or no one wants it because they know it's additional work on their end. So I think there's an opportunity to get a little bit more intimately involved in the process that you are providing for your clients.
And speaking of agencies, we had clients back in the day that would ask for us to post reviews on their behalf. Do you see, especially like Amazon, when we would do work in some of those spaces, like, oh yeah, there's people that sell this. What are your thoughts on that?
Were you actually a customer of them? Because I've posted reviews on, I don't want to I definitely have posted reviews for clients, but it's because I've done something. But
yeah,
hold on, let me finish. Like an acai bowl place. I've been a paying customer, and I am posting my reviews as that paying customer.
How was that?
Oh, acai bowls! I was thrilled to get a call from him. Bahia bowls in Lafayette Hill, PA. If anyone wants to go, they're amazing. And they have a 5-star reputation, very well deserved.
Yeah. I'm talking about purchasing. So people try to purchase reviews in bulk.
Oh gosh, no. Yeah, I knew where you were going with that, but I did want to, in case anyone was like, oh, well, I see you wrote a review for this person. No, I do, but only if I'm real. Also, because as I'm sure you know, I manage the account. So it does send up a red flag to Google, to other indicators, if the owner of the listing is writing a review, because I'm obviously a little biased and I'm technically violating terms and service, which could put your listing at risk. And that's what it really comes down to. For an agency, good Lord, do not do it for your clients, because number one, you put literally your entire business at risk. I am very black and white when it comes to policies because I manage, all of my clients' listings. If I do something shady, something black hat for one client, Google goes, oh, she's doing it for that one. She must be doing it for all these other ones. And I put all of them at risk for getting, suspended, blacklisted, anything, and it's not worth it. Same thing when it comes to, I know I've heard from people, you can go on Upwork, or they're getting cold. I've had clients send me cold emails that they've gotten saying like, hey, 55-star reviews for $100 or something like that. It's not just, no. It might give you 50 reviews this week, but your listing's going to be deactivated in a month, and Google's not going to reinstate you because you literally violated their terms and services knowingly, willingly. And you have to ask yourself, is that worth it for the business? And I would say 99% of the time it's just no.
Got it.
I think Dave. Yeah.
Oh, is Dave causing an echo?
It's not me. When I'm removed, my mic is muted, so that's on you guys.
Just kidding. That I'm hearing things.
But
I was hearing an echo too, though, for the record. Yeah.
So just listening to this conversation live, I'm like checking out all these websites. I'm looking at our reviews. I'm like trying to see what's going on, and how does this happen? So I just stumbled upon this, but we're number 2 for a certain category on Clutch. The number 1, and this is a location-specific search. So I'm looking at Jacksonville, Florida. Okay. We're number 2. I'm like, who the hell is this number 1? I'm taking offense to this. I'm like, we got 52 reviews. What's going on here? And this company's based in Dallas, Texas. They're not in Jacksonville. How the hell are they showing up in Jacksonville? It's not. It doesn't show that it's being paid for.
Is it not a sponsored one?
It doesn't look like it. I'm not super familiar with but I mean, it's presenting them as the top number 1 Jacksonville digital marketing agency, which that would, that's just disingenuous. It says they're based in Jacksonville on the search results, but you click on it, it says Dallas.
So that's what I was going to wonder if an agency, I've seen different things on where's your headquarters versus where are you kind of actually located, or where do you run things? Right. For example, we work with a couple agencies that they have 3 departments throughout the country. So they're in Philadelphia, they're in Chicago, and they're in LA. And on certain platforms, they're different.
And they probably have some guy's house in Jacksonville, and that meets their terms and conditions, is what I'm assuming.
That's what I was going to ask is in the future of the review marketing, now that everyone's working from home, and now that the job market's opened up, you can hire anywhere. Are we just going to see these online reviews popping up for everywhere, for every city that you have a contractor or, you emailed somebody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how that'll change things. Google itself battled a lot with the not having a brick and mortar physical location. You can't use a home address, no PO box. And they've kind of adapted to that as well. That'll be interesting to see how the, working from home changes as so many businesses ditch office spaces. So many agencies I know are saying, hey, everyone just work remote now. We were all digital anyway. That's definitely something that'll be interesting to see how it changes.
Yeah. What are some other things that you see in the future that are going to occur?
I think that I hope that we are going to continue to have these kind of pushes more towards the G2, more towards the Clutch style with the extreme verification. One of the biggest frustrations, Yelp 5 years ago was kind of an end all be all platform. And now it's pretty much where people go to just either read reviews that are really entertaining or to vent, and say a really bad review, but it doesn't hold much weight, both for consumers as well as businesses. Excluding restaurant industry, it is still very important in the restaurant industry. But the reason being, Yelp really played behind, freedom of speech. Anyone can say anything. They also have an amazing pay to play, but not pay to play algorithm that's very entertaining. Google, the issue there that people can, get frustrated with is you can still create, a fake Gmail and go on and say stuff. There's not really, there is a lot of trust kind of barriers there versus the shift that you're seeing, these kind of much more intensive reviews, but the trust validation factor is super high. I think we're going to see a swing that way. Amazon, there's no, anyone can go say anything. And they try to say, verified purchase, et cetera. But I think all those platforms that aren't are going to have to try and find workarounds to build trust back in that those reviews are real.
Removing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're coming to the end here. I got 3 quick hits that I want to go after. First of all, the funniest story or the funniest thing about the review world. Have you ever heard of there's a $14,000 watch and people created fake reviews? Have you ever heard of that story?
No.
Somebody found this $140,000 watch listed on Amazon. And so everyone started hitting it with reviews that were just so outlandish and ridiculous, talking about how they've sacrificed feeding their family for 18 months in order to afford this one watch. It's obviously fake stuff, hilarious stuff. It's one of my favorite things. I'll have to find it and send it to you. Second,
yes, please.
You said you're big into athletics your whole life, so I wanted to take a guess. Is it volleyball?
Basketball. If we were meeting in person, I'm 6'2", but I get volleyball as well.
And then thirdly, because me and Jon, this is one of our hobby projects. Have you ever heard of jobsandsports.com? Like the website Jobs and Sports.
But I'll look it up.
That's we own that.
Well, before that, did you ever want a job in sports?
I didn't, so I'm probably not your target audience.
There we go.
Not even so jobs in sports doesn't necessarily mean an athlete or a coach or anything, but it could just be review management for your favorite basketball team.
No, I mean, it sounds genius though. And what I do wish is that I did know about it. So, and it's probably much more publicized now. We had the career coaching specifically for athletes at Delaware. So it was pretty dialed in there. But that sounds like something that they should be, really pushing to their athletes.
It's an old website that we acquired a couple of years ago, and we've modernized it. And it's been around since 1995. A lot of sports management degree people end up with profiles on it. So I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely understand. I'm also, being in a niche industry, I love anything that's really dialed into a certain niche, and you guys hit the head on that.
Yeah.
Do you still play basketball?
I don't. I'm pathetic. I about a year ago tried to shoot free throws, air balls.
Really?
Yeah, your muscle
Not like riding a bike, huh?
No, so the movement was still there, but my muscles, I'm weak now. I forgot how strong, how much we used to lift and all of that. But yeah, no, not anymore.
All right. Is there anything else that we haven't covered today that you think the world should know?
One other little tidbit that I think when you were talking about the future of reviews, sorry about that, is I would also push into video. Not only we're all virtual, we're talking video. I do think that there's going to be a large shift with video testimonials, but real and authentic, not the sit down on a couch in a suit. I think there'll be a shift in that way. But,
right on. And how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you want to, obviously I love talking about this, if anyone wants to talk further, feel free to send me an email directly at Chelsea@rhino-reviews.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. Always love talking with people there as well.
Awesome. Chelsea, thank you so much for being here. I can speak for myself, and Dave can pop out here and speak for him as well. Really appreciate you being on the show today.
Of course. No, I thank you so much for the time and all the great questions.
Yeah.
All right.
And we'll end it there. We'll edit that part out. Yeah, good, bad. What do you think?
Oh, I fumble a lot, but you guys are awesome. You guys are clear pros.
No. I mean, if you notice how I answer questions, I'll kind of fumble my way through them. So no, you were great. Don't worry about it. Yeah. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. So I think it'll be good. And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me right now, granted, super selfish, is the G2 stuff.
Yeah.
I'll have to find an article for you on that.
Okay, that would be awesome.
I checked out that site. It does feel a lot more like software. I mean, they're all the stuff on their homepage is highlighting, Asana, project management software, and stuff like that. So I had to kind of dig to find services. And there was a lot of companies on there I didn't even know was in Jacksonville or Florida. So, I love Clutch because the second you go to Clutch, it hits you with B2B, right? It's just, that's what their marketing message is, and that's where I want to live.
Yeah.
So,
the I'll have to find it to you to send over. It was sometime either late February or early March they came out, and it was saying that like the shift of G2, that in a year they're going to be in that space. So it's that feeling like, okay, you want to get in there now so that you're established when that kind of full transition happens.
Was that article sponsored by G2?
It wasn't. It was from a conference, and then someone wrote it from the conference.
Okay.
But you know what? You never know where those checkbooks are actually coming from.
Right.
And I believe they got the money because we looked into it for a SaaS client before, and I think it was like 10 grand, and that's where they send out the $10 gift certificates. That was like the entry level package to get on there.
$10 gift certificates for that. Their average, so they start at 10. The majority of their clients are at 40K a year.
Wow. Yeah. Oof.
But I don't know, and it doesn't sound like you guys do. If you've looked at sponsoring on Clutch, I mean,
we do.
The majority. Oh, okay. Because I was going to say my agencies, I think they start at $750 a month. So
we're doing 200.
Okay. So yeah, it depends on where. I think it also just depends on like where you are fighting for. And
are they getting a lot of leads for the 750? Like, what are they getting?
Yeah. So, they did not advertise. So we started working together, from going from 0 to 14 reviews in a month. They got their first lead that then paid for my services for the year. So we were like, okay, we've now broken even. Let's really double down. What more can we do? So then they invested with advertising and sponsorship. And then by month 3, they had paid for both my services, which were already done, as well as the advertising through Clutch for the year. So anything, and that was only 3 months in. So anything else that came through was cherry on top.
Okay.
So it was worth it for them.
All right, we'll check that out. And then there's no packages like that for G2 right now?
From a sponsorship level?
Yeah.
So they're 10K to 40K, I know. But sorry. From no, so they don't do the like pay to play placement. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. That's where I was going.
So you can unlock additional features. You can like pay to be able, there's additional like profile juice, quote unquote. I don't know how you want to, like different features and stuff that paying them will allow you to unlock.
Okay. So on Clutch right now, there's one thing I noticed on top creative agencies in Jacksonville. Not one of the companies listed has even one review, which I assume that means if we applied ourselves to that category, we'd instantly float. Like, how do they determine? And I wasn't a part of this. And this might be big. Should we just be going through all these categories and then telling Clutch that, hey, put us in there?
No.
So it's
sorry. Yeah.
No.
Less than 5%, then we don't show up. And the more we have, the more exposure we get. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It is worth, and yes, that's perfect. I would say if you haven't had a conversation with Clutch about the sponsorship, from just them kind of educating you on stuff like that, it's a really interesting process to go through, because they do also bring up like what you just caught. They'll say, hey, there's no one showing up for these. So if it makes sense and you're not going to hurt yourself, or if there's an opportunity there, they literally bring it all out because they want you to pay on any page. Right. So they're good at like showing you, hey, no one's showing up for this. There's an opportunity to go in right away and be number one. Well, no, you don't have to pay. You could just list that as yours.
Do they also tell you
understanding?
Do they tell you the traffic stats of each category?
Which is pretty incredible. They tell you views per week, per month, per quarter, per like page, per category, per and all that information's there. And they send it all.
For a couple of them. Yeah, the guy sold me the $200 one. No, he talked me out of the others. He's like, let's just start here, and I said, okay. I do that the same in our sales process. I was like, okay, let's just start here. And so far, we've gotten leads from it. So, but yeah, I think a little bit more might help, especially if we can bump out the other guys from Dallas.
Yeah, the Dallas one's still strange.
So competitive. I love it. But Chelsea, it was awesome. If you change your mind about Vegas and you want to sponsor something, you let me know.
I will.